Katmai National Park and Preserve is a natural treasure that hosts salmon-loving brown bears, volcanic ruins, pristine coastlines, and protected Alaskan wilderness. Located on the Alaskan Peninsula, the park is extremely remote and difficult to travel to. Water taxis and small planes are one of the only ways to access the park. Katmai was originally established in 1918 as a IUCN Category 3 protected area when President Wilson signed a presidential proclamation. He created the national monument in order to protect and preserve the Valley of 10,000 Smokes, which was the result of a major volcanic eruption. The monument then underwent multiple expansions, which led it to receiving a new designation of an IUCN Category 2 National Park in 1980. President Wilson and other U.S. presidents shown here, and two men named Robert Griggs and Lucius Folsom, were the major stakeholders in the creation of the park, as they believed the wilderness was so spectacular it needed to be protected. The Katmai area has been inhabited by many populations over the years. The area is home to the Alutiiq people. However, during the late 1700s to mid-1800s, Russian fur trappers moved into the Alaskan Peninsula. In 1867, Russia sold their properties to the United States, leading to the area being inhabited by American fur traders and trappers. The creation of the park was not contested, and there were no forceful evictions, as there were not many people in the area during the time of its formation. In 1912, there was a severe volcanic eruption called the Nova Ruptra. This eruption drastically changed the landscape and caused people to abandon the area due to the ecological damage. Katmai National Park and Preserve faces many threats, one of which is volcanic activity. Katmai is home to over 10 volcanoes, some of which are still active. The 1912 eruption drastically changed the landscape. If these volcanoes were to erupt once more, many buildings, the lives of park staff, and the success of important conservation measures would be at risk. Bear-to-human conflicts are another direct threat to the park. These conflicts threaten the safety and function of the park. Katmai is home to over 2,000 brown bears that live in close proximity to humans. Due to the close proximity of bears and humans and the large population numbers, the possibility of interactions is very high and has required many management actions to minimize the threat, including electric fences surrounding human infrastructure and designated bear-proof areas. Climate change is also threatening Katmai National Park because it is creating drastic change in habitats and ecosystems. As water temperatures within the park rise, the movement of the park's salmon population change, which impacts the brown bear population and fishing industry of Katmai National Park, which are two of the main characteristics of ecotourism in the area. One of the most intense direct threats in Katmai is increasing visitation. The underlying causes of an increase in the conservation movement and ecotourism have created an increase in visitor numbers and destination travel. As more people begin to support conservation, protected areas like Katmai will receive more visitation. The indirect threats of human population growth and increasing social and global involvement have also impacted the rise in visitation. The increase of social and global involvement are leading people to find new areas and to become connected with places they soon want to visit. The increasing in visitation in Katmai is leading to problems of insufficient infrastructure, changing land use regulations, higher risks for bears within the park, and an increase in pollution and waste within Katmai. The threat of increased visitation developed recently and has been influenced by history. In 2012, Katmai launched a live stream program that allowed visitors from around the world to see bears within the park. This program skyrocketed in popularity and showed people around the world what Katmai has to offer. Soon after, Katmai and their partners established Fat Bear Week, where online visitors can vote on which bear has put on the most weight in preparation for winter. This has received global attention and has created a rise of visitors since its launch in 2012. Katmai has managed increasing visitation by establishing management zones through spatial differentiation to create areas where only certain activities are allowed. They have also implemented sustainable use limits through a river access permit system, a campground reservation system, and a lottery system for lodging within the park. Katmai also uses monitoring techniques to monitor visitor rates each year in order to create necessary changes to their management practices and to observe changes caused by increased visitation, like human-bear interactions. Risk and incident management systems are also used by Katmai to plan responses to scenarios or incidents within the park. These responses include trail closures, hazing techniques, behavior intervention, and guidelines for when lethal force against wildlife is needed to protect the lives of visitors and staff. These management tools have been successful as they have allowed the park to operate with a balance between sufficient income and sustainability. The reservation, lottery, and permit systems have decreased the interactions between humans and wildlife, as well as removing humans from wild spaces. They have also allowed Katmai to maintain a sustainable level of visitors for what their current infrastructure and staff can support. Katmai utilizes a community in order to achieve their conservation outcomes and control the threats in the park at a landscape level. Katmai National Park and Preserve has multiple partners that help with the tourism and conservation aspects of their goals. Bristol Adventures manages hospitality in the park. The Katmai Conservancy supports the park through financial funding in order to support their actions. Recreation.gov supports the park through managing the campground reservation system, and Explore.org manages the live cams and Fat Bear Week, which provides support, funding, and promotion for the park. Katmai National Park and Preserve is part of an Alaskan network of national park sites that work together to manage different threats. On the Alaskan Peninsula, Katmai is located near Aniakchak National Monument and Allanak Wild River. These parks share management plans and also work with one another through advertising and promotion. By utilizing a community structure, Katmai is able to create systems to manage increasing visitation effectively without expending too many park resources or energy on it. Protected area managers at Katmai need to intervene so that the impacts of human-caused threatening processes are reduced. The management team at Katmai works to plan and anticipate the impacts of human-caused threats. By planning to control their impacts on the environment and the wildlife, the managers are able to minimize the impacts. By planning out permit systems and lodging reservations, often years in advance, Katmai is able to control human-caused threats. By intervening and creating rules and regulations for Katmai visitors, and strictly enforcing such rules, the safety of the animals and the visitors and staff are protected, and each species is able to thrive and coexist. Threats to protected areas are unfortunately inevitable. As protected areas increase in popularity and our world continues to develop, more and more threats are going to arise, which highlights the importance of taking action now. As people become more interested in Katmai due to the growth in the popularity of the outdoors, increase in conservation movement, and the ever-increasing popularity of Katmai's famed Fat Bear Week, the park is going to continue growing in visitation numbers. This is inevitable, as well as many other threats. However, by starting early with management, the park is able to prepare and protect the park from irreversible damage. As Katmai soars in popularity, more people are going to come visit, so the threat of increased visitation is inevitable, especially with such a pristine area of wilderness and nature like Katmai National Park and Preserve.